Hello, you're watching Entertainment Week. Coming up on the show, BAFTA-nominated Ethan Hawke is here in the studio to talk awards season and the 12 years it took to make Boyhood. Amy Adams tells us about the art and sexism in Tim Burton's Big Eyes. Benedict Cumberbatch and Eddie Redmayne battle it out for a BAFTA. And Lena Dunham on the phenomenon of girls and why she's proud to be a feminist. First, let's catch up on the week's entertainment news. There is flash photography coming up. The Grand Budapest Hotel has topped the BAFTA nomination list with 11. Birdman, The Imitation Game and Theory of Everything also score high in the main categories for the awards next month. Bill Cosby performed for the first time in months in Canada as 3 more women accused the actor of drugging and sexually assaulting them. BAFTA award-winning actor Adam Deacon has been arrested after failing to turn up to court. He was due to face charges of allegedly sending abusive tweets to his Kidulthood co-star Noel Clarke. Sony's confirmed its controversial film The Interview will get a widespread UK release. It was initially pulled in the US after a cyber attack. The FBI says it traced the hackers' IP addresses back to North Korea. The Lego Movie, it came out top at the UK and Ireland box office in 2014 in what was the worst year for ticket sales in more than 23 years. Stephen Fry's confirmed he's to wed his partner, 27-year-old writer Elliot Spencer. And the ship has sailed on Sting's Broadway musical. Despite joining the cast himself to try to revive ticket sales, the last ship will close after less than 4 months. Boyhood is one of the most talked about films this awards season, and considering it took 12 years to make, that must come as something of a relief to the filmmakers. It's the story of a child's journey from infancy into adulthood and the everyday trials and tribulations of family life. Ethan Hawke plays the father and has been nominated for a BAFTA for his performance.
Is that so hard?
Dad, these questions are kind of hard to answer.
What is so hard to answer? About what sculpture are you making?
It's abstract.
Okay, that's good. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were even interested in abstract art.
I'm not. They make us do it.
Ethan, it's absolutely lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
Boyhood, fantastic film, and there's so much buzz around the film, so many nominations, the Golden Globes. I mean, were you expecting success like this?
You know, I've worked with Richard Linklater 8 times, so I expected that I would like the movie. You know, I know what he's about, and I know what we're going after. And he came at me 12 years ago with this idea of making a movie following a person from 1st grade to 12th grade in the U.S. school system. You know, that's how it works. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I never thought it would have the emotional response that it's had. You know, we did the Before trilogy together, Sunrise, Sunset, Before Midnight. I'd done a bunch of movies that I'm really proud of with him. But they've never hit that emotional kind of thing. People come up to me, it's like it's their movie, you know? And that's an amazing feeling.
So when he phoned you up and pitched this, so we want you to stay on board for the next 12 years, did you think he was insane?
I knew that he was nuts already. And it wasn't over the phone, it was in person. And really what I thought I'm being offered a job no actor has ever been offered before. You know, and there's that part of your brain that gets turned on by that, by walking new ground a little bit. And I also thought about my own father when I was 6 and what he looked like to me in my mind and what he looked like when I was graduating high school and what a different man he seemed like. And what an amazing thing it would be to be able to tell the story of that transition. You know, because the kids grow up, obviously. You know, they go from being tiny. I mean, my first scene with my scene partner, Ella Coltrane, I'm putting him in a car seat. And on my last scene, I'm offering him a beer, and he's got a beard, and he's crying to me about a girl, and he gets in his pickup truck and leaves. I mean, that's an amazing thing to have happen through the course of a film. So, I don't know. The whole thing was so special. I never really doubted it. I didn't think Rick was nuts at all.
But I suppose with something like this, you can't 6 years in go, actually, I don't fancy it anymore.
Well, actually, I could, because 12 years is so long. We actually didn't have any contracts. You know, it's illegal to sign somebody up for anything more than 7 years. So if I'd wanted to, I could have walked away, and so could have everybody. The whole thing was some act of faith, you know?
Yeah, incredible that you all agreed to it and you all stayed on board. Absolutely amazing. Was it lovely coming back together every year and seeing friends?
You can imagine. The crew was the same for the most part. Lorelai, who plays my daughter in the film, I've known since she was born. You know, it's
And that's Richard's daughter.
Yeah, it's the director's daughter, and he's been. When we did Before Sunrise, she was a little baby. I mean, she was just born, and so to sit and do scenes with her when she was 13, 14 years old, asking her about, you know, talking to her about condoms and, you know, sexuality.
With her dad standing there.
With her dad behind the camera and her dad's best friend sitting there looking her in the eyes, you know. I mean, she looked exactly like you did right now, you know.
Why do you think it's resonated so much? Because it really tugs at your heartstrings, this film, doesn't it?
I don't know, but the movie is, it's kind of this epic about minutia. You know, nothing really happens in the movie. It's so mundane, the whole thing. And it makes me think that people must like their own lives more than we let on. You know, we spend all this time complaining about our lives and seeking this kind of entertainment to escape our lives. But this movie brings you into your life. I mean, it's what I love about it. You know, if I remember seeing the Harry Potter films with my kids, and we all loved them. And when the final one was over, my daughter was like, "I'm so depressed." I said, "Why? Because they're over?" And she goes, "I guess, and because I'm never going to be a wizard." and what's great about Boyhood is it makes you feel good about your own life, because it's definitely better than these characters' lives. You know?
And I mean, how did it make you feel when you saw it, when you were working on it? Did it make you reflect more? Because watching it, I did think about my own life. I thought about my son. I thought it makes you sort of just reflect generally, doesn't it?
The movie's ultimately about time. It's really what it is. It's kind of a meditation on the passage of time. And on one level, that can bring you to a very melancholy place. But it can also bring you to the feeling of how precious all this is, you know? In a lot of ways, the movie reminds me of that old play, Our Town. You know, at the end of Our Town, it's a person revisiting their life, and all of a sudden they wish they could just eat breakfast with their mom again. You know, and it kind of captures that same essence. And also the feeling of we all have so much constant change. What is it that's constant? You know, there's something about this movie where you just see change so much, but yet the people are the same. Their faces are cracking apart, or the kids are growing up, or whatever. But the essence of who these people are is constant. And what does that mean? You know, I mean, there's something profound at work that the movie isn't doing. The movie's just, you know, just capturing.
Have you ever been in a film that's had this type of effect on people? Presumably Dead Poets Society is sort of up there.
That's the only one that popped in my brain. You know, there's the feeling, I remember when Dead Poets Society came out, a friend of mine, Robert Sean Leonard, who was in the movie with her, we went out to dinner, and a whole table of people stood up on their desks at a restaurant and said, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and both of us stood there just blushed like, what? There's a whole family stood on their table, you know, like, and we realized then that the movie was no longer ours. The movie had, you know, lived inside other people, and that's happening with Boyhood. I've never, other movies I've done, people have admired or liked, but it hasn't had that kind of punch to it.
Award season is well and truly off and running. Golden Globes are coming up. You're up against Brits. How are you? Are you feeling confident?
Up against Brits? Well, that year. You know, I'm an American actor, and I often feel that this country has a relationship to acting that I'm very envious towards. My whole childhood, there's kind of a deification of personality. You know, even with great actors, Jack Nicholson or Julia Roberts or something, it's not that they think they're great actors, it's that they think they're great. You know? And this over here, there's a sense of a profession and a trade and being a part of a craft, and it is much more exciting to me. I can remember I came over here for the first time when I was 16, and I saw Kenneth Branagh in something somewhere, and I remember it just lit my whole brain on fire. And I really always wanted to study over here, and there's a great relationship to acting this country has. So you have a lot to be proud of, but I'm not intimidated.
I was just about to say, it sounds like you're scared, but you're not.
No. You kidding? One of my best times of my life is I got to do Shakespeare at the Old Vic. I came over and did a production of Winter's Tale at the Old Vic, and I felt like the revolution was complete. You know, we've gone, we've come back, and now I'm sitting here doing your plays on your stage.
And do awards matter? Does acclaim matter? I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? It's fun.
It's like prom or something, you know, think you're going to get invited to a dance. It always feels good. This is how I like to think about it. The truth is that it's not about the people involved. You know, when people celebrate a movie, what they're really doing is celebrating how much they love cinema and movies in general. I didn't invent the cameras. This Boyhood stands in the back of a long history of movies that came before it that we wouldn't have existed if it weren't for the work that Eric Romer or Lindsay Anderson or any number of great directors that before. So I try to get very zen about it and think that what they're really doing is celebrating Boyhood, the movie, you know, and if Boyhood matters, then movies matter, and then my whole life makes sense because I've dedicated my life to this stupid profession, you know? And so I just try to look at it like that. I feel incredibly grateful to still be here. You know, it's a hard profession to survive in, you know, and you don't really know that when you're younger. It seems so exciting, and it seems, like I was saying, it seems like all the credit is directed towards you, and you don't really quite realize it. Every year there's a new crop of 20-year-olds who are wonderful, and that's part of how our whole culture works, is we celebrate young people and we celebrate storytelling. And for me to get to be 44 and still be here being interviewed by you and getting to do this whole dance and people talking about movies.
Well, we're so grateful you came in. Thank you so much, Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, when US series Girls arrived on our screens 3 years ago, it made a star of writer and lead actress Lena Dunham. But it also opened up a debate about portrayals of women on television. As it returns for a fourth series this Monday on Sky Atlantic, our correspondent Hannah Thomas-Peter went to meet the show's creator in New York.
Iowa's incredible. We should all move here and start the revolution.
No one is moving to Iowa ever, but I'm so glad you're happy.
Honestly, I feel like I made the right decision, which is a totally new sensation for me. I mean, I'm eating grapes as a snack. I hope that we are showing a realistic depiction of female/human behavior that felt fresh and necessary at a time when maybe there were too many idealized women on television. And I feel really lucky. I feel like we were part of a movement where, like, sort of the moment that we hit TV, so did all these other incredible shows that give women the space to be the kind of complex, messy characters we've always known they are.
That is a really interesting debate that Girls has sparked, actually, that there's been, you know, is it a positive or a negative reflection of the generation that it's trying to depict? What do you think, and does it matter?
Well, you know, for me, it's funny. I feel like shows starring men are never sort of forced to carry the moral weight of an entire society. And so when people are asked, are these characters likable? Are these characters setting good examples? I sort of resent the implication that that's what we as women have to do. The idea that every piece of art about women has to somehow elevate the case for women just feels like it's so restrictive and actually ultimately really counterintuitive to what we're trying to do in sort of kind of moving closer to gender equality.
I just don't understand why nobody tells you how bad it's going to be in the real world.
Yeah, they do. It's pretty much all they ever tell you.
I think there's a lot of feminists in Hollywood, and maybe I've just thrown the word around more, but I definitely think I am not alone in identifying that way. I think part of it is that I was raised in a distinctly feminist community by a mother who was actually involved with, like, feminist political actions.
Would then Hillary Clinton, as the next president of the United States, be for you the ultimate shattering of the glass ceiling?
I would be thrilled to have Hillary Clinton be the president of the United States, not only because she's a woman, but because she has such an incredible amount of experience, and because I think she's the most qualified person at this point to run our country. And the fact that she would be the first female president is just sort of, you know, the icing on top of the cake of having an incredibly qualified president with great values and cool suits.
Coming up, I'll be speaking to Amy Adams about her Golden Globe and BAFTA-nominated role as the artist Margaret Keane in Big Eyes. Amy Amy Adams is no stranger to critical acclaim, with 5 Oscar nominations under her belt. Her role as the artist Margaret Keane, whose famous Big Eyes paintings were wrongly credited to her husband, is earning the actress further plaudits. She's picked up a 5th BAFTA nod for her performance.
Why are their eyes so big?
The eyes are the windows of the soul.
That's why I paint them so big. I've always done it that way.
Why are you lying?
And Margaret and Amy join me now from LA. Lovely to see you both. Now, Margaret, what was it like seeing that part of your life played out on screen?
Well, it was an overwhelming experience. When I first saw the movie, I was in really total shock for about 2 days. It was so real, made everything come back.
Amy, this is a story of jaw-dropping sexism, and in that sense, it's still very relevant, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've still have had artists come up to me and say that they sign using their initials instead of their name for fear that people won't take their art seriously, and so it still feels like it resonates for people today. You know, but I'm so happy that Margaret has allowed this story to be told and sort of kind of be a voice for these women, and I think it's an important story for that reason.
And is sexism something, Amy, that you've experienced in Hollywood yourself?
You know, I don't think that it's specific to Hollywood, so, you know, I'm very grateful to be where I am, but I don't think that women's issues are specific to Hollywood at all. I think it's something, you know, that's worldwide, and there's much worse things happening to women in the world than in Hollywood. So, you know, I think there's a big focus on women's issues right now, and I'm very grateful for that.
Award season is obviously in full swing at the moment. Amy, you're up for a Golden Globe. Congratulations. I mean, whatever you think about awards, it's great for the film, isn't it? Great publicity in that sense.
It's always good to be a part of the conversation, and I'm always grateful to be included in that conversation. It's a wonderful opportunity to get together with friends and celebrate film. I mean, we're all working all year, so it's great to come together and see people I only see during this season.
Amy, you told me that you were actually wearing your slippers during this interview. Presumably you won't be wearing those on the red carpet.
No, but maybe under the table. I'm going to sneak them in, yeah.
Finally, Margaret, I mean, what do you think of Amy's performance? Does she do you justice?
Oh, yes. No one could have done the job she did. I'm just in awe of her talent. She just portrayed exactly how I was feeling. And it just made it all come back to me in such an emotional experience. She couldn't have done a better job. It's just unbelievable, her talent.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. So if you haven't got the message, award season is well and truly upon us. The BAFTA nominations are the latest to be revealed. Here's the films leading this year's pack.
And so my life began. Junior lobby boy in training under the strict command of Monsieur Gustave H. Many of the hotel's most valued and distinguished guests came for him.
I love you.
I love you.
We had it all. You were a movie star, remember?
Who was this guy?
He used to be Birdman.
I like that poster.
You wrote this adaptation?
I did, yeah.
And you're directing and starring in your adaptation. That's ambitious.
We're going to break an unbreakable Nazi code.
Oh.
To pull off this genius routine, one actually has to be a genius.
What if I reverse the process all the way back to see what happened at the beginning of time itself?
Wind back the clock.
Wind back the clock. Until you get the black hole exploding.
Our film critic Joe McAlchuk joins me now. Joe, so some surprises. First of all...
Not just surprises, shocks, big shocks.
The Grand Budapest Hotel 11. I can't believe it.
I was tweeting on Friday morning saying, Theory of Everything, Imitation Game, Mr. Turner. What did I know? No one mentioned Grand Budapest Hotel. It came from absolutely nowhere.
And it was out. I mean, it was out in March or something.
Officially
and that's
March.
Really unusual for a film that long ago, for the BAFTA voters to have their imagination and their memory to go back that long, isn't
I mean,
it?
I forget films that I've seen last week. So, yeah, so kudos to BAFTA voters. But one of them said, you don't ever forget a good movie. And it is a good movie, to be fair. But it was released in March, which, like you say, says to me that even the film studio didn't really put it as awards bait. Usually we build up, don't we, from Cannes, really, which is in the summer. But 11 nominations, I think it gets the headlines, but a lot of technical nominations there, you know, in the sort of big acting categories. We still are talking about The Theory of Everything, The Imitation Game. So, you know, a lot of technical things, but still a massive shock. No one was thinking about it.
But the big story is Eddie Redmayne versus Benedict Cumberbatch, The Theory of Everything versus The Imitation Game. Like, it's the battle of the geniuses. They're both true stories. It all works very well, doesn't it?
It really does fit well, doesn't it? Both got similar backgrounds as well, Benedict Cumberbatch and Eddie Redmayne. Both very likeable. I think when you look at the two performances, they're both fantastic. But I think if you look at the definitive portrayal of maybe Alan Turing or Stephen Hawking, I think Eddie Redmayne might, in 10, 20 years, still have that. Alan Turing and Benedict Cumberbatch, will it become a bit Sunday afternoony? I'm not so sure.
No, I think Eddie Redmayne is gonna get it, absolutely. I mean, his performance not only is absolutely brilliant, but it's also very surprising. We knew how good an actor in some ways Benedict Cumberbatch is, whereas Eddie Redmayne has sort of come out of nowhere with such a sterling performance.
Such an incredible performance. It's a beautiful love story in many respects, isn't it? A physical performance, it makes you cry, it makes you laugh, it brings you sort of behind that man that we only see in a wheelchair, it makes him stand up and shout at you. It's fantastic. I want to see him win everything. The Oscars, the Baftas, he's definitely my pick, really.
And mine. Snubs. Now, Mr. Turner, where was that? And Selma as well.
Well, Selma, I think, is very American. Obviously, it's about Martin Luther King Jr. Has got David Oyelowo, the British actor, so I thought maybe he would have been in the running sort of with a BAFTA. But it's not being released here till February, I think. The screeners to BAFTA voters didn't go out till the other week. Mr. Turner, though, Mike Leigh, Timothy Spall. Timothy Spall, of course, picked up the Best Actor prize in Cannes. You can't picture a more BAFTA-worthy movie
How many nominations
than Mr.
has it
Turner.
got?
I think it got 4 nominations, only in the technical categories, not in the acting categories. I mean, how this didn't get in the sort of British film
very strange
category.
Isn't it?
No idea. A shock and really disappointing. I think it was a career sort of topping performance by Timothy Spall. It's fantastic. You know, that Dickensian sort of grunting his way through that, Mr. Turner. A shame, I think.
In terms of the American films, Birdman's up there, Boyhood, which is brilliant. Also Foxcatcher, which is out this week. Any good? Did it get? How many nominations has that got?
It got 5? A couple. I think it's sort of a critique of the American dream. It's a true story. I think it's one of those ones that will probably play better with American audiences. But it's out this weekend, like we said. I think it's well worth a view. I think obviously here Steve Carell and Channing Tatum. I mean, Carell is unrecognisable, really, isn't he, with a prosthetic nose? But it's everything about his performance.
That's always a winner, isn't it? If you can't tell who they are.
Nose on. But it's not. It's his voice. It's his gait. It's performance. Very serious, brooding, dark. Deeply disturbing. If you don't know the story about Foxcatcher and John DuPont, don't read up about it, because I didn't, and I was shocked to my very core. Great, well worth a view, and Carell, fantastic. I don't think he's going to walk away with any prizes, but he's going to be in the nominations, like he is in the BAFTAs alongside his co-star Mark Ruffalo as well.
It'd be interesting. Thank you so much, Joe. That is it for now. Coming up on next week's show, British actor David Oyelowo is here to talk about portraying Martin Luther King in Selma. Game of Thrones star Kit Harington tells us about his World War I romance Testament of Youth. And Ross Kemp explains his latest foray into the extreme world. Take care. Bye-bye.